Okay, so regarding this thing with Renato and Greg and everybody getting all worked up about this so-called poker game. Paul, I have to say that poker was probably, though it was just a metaphor, I think people are taking this metaphor a little bit too far. Because there's one major difference between a game of poker and the game that's being played. You see, in poker, you either win or you don't win. It's just flat out. It really is that simple. It's black and white. There's never any question about who wins in poker. I mean, I think both you and I think both Paul and Greg are taking this metaphor a little bit too far. Because you don't have in poker somebody showing their hand. We'll say they have 4 aces. You don't hear another one of the players saying, well, prove you have 4 aces. Because all the evidence that's needed is right there in that hand. There is no physically possible way in the fucking game of poker to have a hand where there is some question about whether there is enough evidence, which is the problem that we're running into here. Paul and his followers claim that there is perfectly enough evidence. Greg and his sheep, to use a term that Greg has used to describe Renato's followers, believe that there is not enough evidence, and everybody in this is entitled to their own belief. If Greg is not satisfied, then Greg is not satisfied, and I don't think he should lose the bet if he's not satisfied with the evidence. What I do think he ought to do is actually offer up something that Renato, or that Paul, can do to prove it to him. Because throughout this whole thing, Greg has been just talking about how this isn't enough evidence, this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough. And he's never offered anything that he would like to see Renato do to prove it. Now that may be because he can't think of a way Renato could prove it to him. But Greg, I think you're a smart guy. I know you're a smart guy. You're a very, very intelligent person. I'm sure you can come up with some way that Paul can prove this to you. And I think it would make it a little bit easier on all of us, and it would kill this fucking argument if you would just tell him how he could do that for you. I mean, right now it's just a guessing game. Paul had what he thought was sufficient evidence. You don't think it's sufficient evidence, but you didn't tell him what would be sufficient evidence, so all that's going to keep happening is the same circle over and over and over and over again, unless either A, you cannot think of a way that he could possibly prove it to you, which, considering, as I said before, your very gracious intelligence, I seriously doubt, or you're just not going to be satisfied with anything, any sort of evidence that Renato provides for you. And if you are not going to be satisfied with any evidence that Paul provides you, well then, Christ, man, you shouldn't have gone in on the bet. It's no fun to play poker with somebody that refuses to believe that they've lost. And I'm not saying that you have lost. But just give Paul something he can do to prove this to you.